is the submissive CEO. Power under God. Leadership under authority. Building empires through obedience. Strong in business. Surrendered in spirit. Walking by faith, not by trends. Let's go.
Welcome back to the Submissive CEO, where power stays under God and leadership stays under authority. I am your podcast host, Ludgy, and I wanted to talk about something that I was kind of thinking about all this week when thinking about what my next topic was going to be. Because I feel like this is something a lot of us go through, but we don't really say it out loud. Okay. Like, what do you do when you're actually being faithful? Okay. In business, in life, whatever that looks like for you. You're doing what God told you to do. You stepped out, you obeyed, you started the thing, you posted, whatever it was that was on your heart and your spirit that you were supposed to do. You've done it. And it still looks like it's not working. Like, if we're being real, it looks like, or it's starting to look like failure. And I don't mean like you were distracted or you were disobedient and now things took a left turn. I mean, you really felt like, no, God told me to do this. You showed up, you launched, you've been consistent. And now you're kind of just looking at everything like, was I wrong? Did I hear God wrong? Or is this just what obedience looks like right now in this season? That feeling right there, that is kind of what I want to talk to you all about today. I'm calling this episode Faithfulness in the Failure. Not because God failed and not because his promise failed, but because sometimes what we're looking at just doesn't match what we expected. Like, your numbers don't match, your money isn't matching, your timeline definitely doesn't match, and it starts to mess with you a little bit. Your expectations are what really failed here. And because in your head, you had a version of how this was all supposed to go. Okay. So it's like, if I obey God, then by this point, I should be here. I should be making this amount of money. I should be able to do this, buy this, or see this thing happen in my life. And when it doesn't happen like that, you don't always say it out loud, but sometimes you start to think to yourself, you start to get real with yourself and you start to measure who God is based on what your life looks like right now, if you're being honest. Well, at least I know I have done that. Okay, so if things are slow, now God feels slow. If things aren't working, it might feel like, well, maybe God isn't coming through, or maybe this isn't what I was supposed to do. And we might not, say that to other people, but internally, that's what we're thinking, some of us, and that's why this matters, okay? Because your results don't get to rename God. They just don't. Your bank account doesn't get to define him. A slow season doesn't get to redefine his character. As a matter of fact, a slow season will define your character and your response to that season. Because he is still faithful. Even when you're funneling and all those things that you're doing in business are not working, he is still provider. Even when the launch did not go the way that you planned for it, he's still the author and the finisher. Even when you feel like you're stuck in the middle of something that just doesn't look like what you thought it was supposed to be. The Bible even tells us our ways are not his ways. And I think what happens in these seasons is not that God changes, it's that our expectations get exposed. We realize we had a timeline, we had a method, we had a picture in our head of how obedience was supposed to play out. And when it doesn't, we start quietly adjusting how we see him. We still say God is faithful, but we might not say it with our chest the way we used to. It turns into, yeah, God is faithful, and then we start making excuses like, well, maybe I just misunderstood, or maybe it wasn't my season or my turn, or I didn't do something the right way. And you may not say it, but it shows up. It shows up in how you stop planning. It shows up in hesitation. It shows up in how you might pull back a little bit, not give as much effort. And I have realized in seasons like this, your faithfulness really comes down to a couple of things. First, it's going to be how you see God. Because when your business doesn't match what you thought he said, you have to decide and you have to be intentional about who he is. Not based on your numbers, not based on your PayPal or your Stripe Square accounts, but based on what he already said about himself and about who you know him to be. That's if you have relationship with him. You will know who he is and his character. Because if you're only looking at your results right now, you might start calling God things that he never called himself, like unreliable or complicated. And that's not who he is. He's still provider. He's still shepherd. He is still the one who finishes what he starts. So for me, faithfulness in seasons like this looks like I'm not letting what I see rename who God is in my life or in my business. I'm letting God redefine what I'm looking at. So instead of saying, this is failing, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is a seed that I'm planting. Maybe this is a foundation. Maybe it's not dead. Maybe it's just not visible yet. Do you guys know the bamboo tree? It has to grow like something ridiculous. Don't quote me on this, but I think like 3 to 5 years underground before it ever shows any sign of life, before it ever, breaks through the ground. And then when it does break through, it does something ridiculous like growing like 3 feet a day or something. Again, don't quote me, but it's something really, profound. So maybe this is a seed that you're planting. And maybe you're not delayed, okay? So the second thing that gets tested is how you see yourself. So there's how you see God, and then there's how you see yourself. Because if we're honest, when things aren't working, it will mess with your identity. Okay, you start to question yourself. You start to question your worth, your ability. Like, am I actually who I thought I was? Did God really call me to do this? Imposter syndrome starts to creep in. I am very well familiar with imposter syndrome, and it is a daily battle. But God said that we are builders, so we cannot sit here and be confused. God said CEO, and sometimes we're out here feeling like we're just playing with hobbies and sending out invoices, but no, you have a business. God called you to your business. You are a CEO. You are a builder. And this is where you have to make a decision. Am I going to agree with what God said about me? Even when my results haven't caught up yet, even when it doesn't look glitzy and glamorous and the invoices are not popping up the way they should, I don't have the customers that I want. I'm not downgrading who I am based on one slow season. I'm just not. If anything, what we need to do is upgrade how we show up. Okay? I will upgrade my discipline, my consistency, my stewardship. And then even in the work itself, because a lot of people quit in this area, okay? When you feel like it's not working, you either want to burn everything down or you just kind of check out. Okay, and I've been realizing a lot of times what we're calling failure is actually training. It's preparation. That God is building things in you that success can't give you. You cannot get these things from going viral. You need to build patience. God is working on your character in this time frame. You don't learn that from things blowing up overnight. You learn that from showing up when it's quiet, when nobody is clapping, when the likes are just not there. You have but 3 consistent followers and 2 of which are family members. You still have to show up. Even when it feels repetitive, when it feels small, that's where something real is being built inside of you. And it doesn't have to, look crazy impressive or be, this grand affair, but it's necessary so that you are in a kind of season right now where you recognize what God is building. So if you're in that season, I want you to slow down and ask God maybe two things. First, what did you actually promise me here? Not what did I assume, not what I saw other people doing, but like, what did you actually say? And then write it down. Then ask, what does faithfulness look like for me today? It doesn't have to be, years out or when everything starts to come together, like today, because sometimes it's something very simple. Finishing what you started, sending out that email, recording the episode, or just make the post, whatever it is that's in your heart and in your business or in your life to do. And honestly, sometimes it might even just be resting so that you don't quit. That could also be what you're being called to do. So, all right, what I want you guys to do is fill in the sentence. This is important, okay? God is still blank, even when my business currently blank. Okay, so an example of that would be God is still faithful, even though my business currently does not make enough money to pay the bills. And be real about it. Write as many of those sentences as you need to, because that's what brings your focus back, not to what you see, but to who He is. Because at the end of the day, being a submissive CEO isn't about submitting when everything makes sense. It's not, I trust you because it's working. It's, I trust you because of who you are. I trust you in spite of. Even when I don't like what this looks like right now, even though my mortgage is real and I need real dollars to pay these very real bills, I trust you. And if you're listening to this and you're tired or you're feeling discouraged or you feel like, I really did what God said and it still looks like nothing, it still looks like failure, I want you to just hear this. You're not behind. And you're not disqualified. You might just be in a part of the process that nobody talks about, nobody posts about, because we all post the highlight reels. We all post our successes. We want the applause. We want the encouragement. But not enough people talk about the failures or their perceived failures. Not enough people talk about the quiet season. So all this to say, stay faithful with what's in your hands. Keep honoring God in how you build and trust that when He's ready, He is going to breathe on it in a way that makes it clear it was Him the whole time. You will know at that time, this is my bamboo season and it's my time. And that's really what this is about, okay? It's not just obeying when it's exciting, but obeying in the wait, in the stretch, in the downtime, okay? In the valley, if you will. And staying faithful even when it doesn't look like it's working yet. So if this episode was relatable to you, please share it with someone who needs it. And make sure you're following the show and leave a review if you haven't yet. You guys know I always want to leave you blessed, so I just want to say a quick prayer for you. Father, I thank you for every person listening to this right now. You see their obedience even when nobody else does and even when they can't see it, Lord. And for the ones who feel like they did what you said, and those who know that you've called them for something and it still looks like nothing or it looks like failure, remind them of who you are, louder than what they see. You are still faithful. You are still provider. Strengthen them to stay consistent with what you've placed in their hands. And in your timing, God, breathe on what they have built in a way that only you can get the credit for. We trust you in all of this, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, family. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode of The Submissive CEO.
This is the Submissive CEO.